Hey y'all, what's good? Good afternoon. Do y'all ever find stuff like you discover stuff and everybody else been unknown about it and you just discover you like, why ain't nobody told me? Why ain't nobody told me? So I felt after I got married, I was like, why didn't nobody tell me marriage is not all it's cracked up to be? That was before stuff even started going bad. Or no, maybe that was after stuff started going bad. After the 2 week honeymoon period literally lasted for 2 weeks. At any rate, y'all, somehow in the YouTube world, I just discovered a show called Succession. Well, I shouldn't say just heard about it because I heard about it before, but I just started watching it, I think last night, and I'm hooked. I already finished let's see, Chicago PD. Well, I haven't watched season 11 yet because it's an arm and a leg. But I have started watching Succession. I'm sorry if I muffled the speaker. I'm moving around as usual. But yeah, this show, oh my gosh, Becky, look at her butt. It is so big. So okay, y'all may know or remember that I have this, obsession with rich people who can do whatever they want, buy whatever they want, blah blah blah. Well, this show, first of all, if any of y'all have seen this show, let me know in the comments. But this show kind of shows what it's really like to be in one of those families where it's like, the patriarch is the douchebag and almost all his kids are douchebags, and it's like you feel sorry for him, but he created this world that he lives in by whatever his priorities were or were not. So this show came out I think in 2018. So if you haven't watched it, there will be spoiler alerts. I mean, it's 6 years later, so come on, deal with it. But y'all, oh my, this Hmm. I went to. I won't say what I went to. I have been around rich people, and it's amazing the level at which people will suck up to them to stay in the circle or the circle that they think they're in, when really the only people in the circle are the people that are, you know, kind of born into it or made into it. So this guy is a billionaire and he has 4 kids. And of all his kids, none of them are great people. The only one who seems remotely decent is his daughter. Um, he has 3 sons, two of which are just a waste of. Somebody should have wore a condom 2 times, and then the one son that's he's an idiot, but he's kind of a lovable idiot. He's like, oh, I don't want to take sides, that kind of thing. So the son that thinks he has the big nut, so to speak, is just like the most blunt. Oh my gosh, it's like the guy went to business school, but he has, to me, zero soft skills at all. Those kids that grow up with so much money and they tell everybody to f off. They're rich, blah blah blah. He goes through life like that, but he doesn't know when to turn it off. So people give him advice and tell him, hey, don't do this, don't do that. And he thinks he knows best, so he'll do it anyway. And it always, and now, granted, I'm only on season 1, but it always inevitably turns out that the people who told him don't do that are right. So I'm on season 1, I think episode 7, where they had where they tried to oust the dad, and he couldn't even get to the meeting in time because he called Alona. He called the lady on the board to make sure she wouldn't vote. And even though somebody told him, don't call her, it'll make it too obvious that you're up to something. And he didn't listen. For the umpteenth time, somebody will tell him something and he doesn't listen because he thinks he knows best. Oh, Lord, you talk about lessons learned. You know, when I say lessons learned, it's like I'm looking at it as lessons learned for, I think, anybody in life when people try to tell you stuff and you don't have a teachable spirit. I've talked about the importance of a teachable spirit so much on this channel. And people will see you bumbling through life and they will try to warn you, hey, don't do this, don't do that. And for whatever reason, you think you know better. Maybe you're more educated, or maybe you grew up rich, or you've been so used to being rich and your parents fixing everything for you that you've never had to deal with life, hard life, bad decision life, the consequences of bad decision life. The only thing is, though, no matter how rich you are, there's no such thing as a consequence free decision. Um, that's something sometimes people in prison say, people that smoke crack or have a drug addiction, they say, oh, it's a victimless crime. I didn't hurt anybody. That's not true. Even if you think your crime is victimless, there are victims, even if those victims aren't easily quantifiable. It's the same thing, I think, with decisions. When you're making decisions, at the time, you may think, oh, this isn't going to affect me. But eventually, you begin to have a pattern of behavior that's destructible, usually to yourself. And in this situation, not only to himself, but to the idiots that he talks into following him off of a cliff. So the episode I'm on, he just lost his job at his own father's firm, and he took a few other people down with him who, I'm like, this dude has shown you over and over again he's an idiot. Why would you follow him? You know? And it's like, the guy's dad is a douchebag. Yes, he is, but you know, he's still his dad and he's still alive. And he people still follow him, and he is irreverent. His dad is just like, I see why your kids are such douchebags, because dude, you're. And to me, all this show, I haven't researched into it or anything, but this show seems to be lightly based on the guy who owns Fox. I can't think of his name or that family's name, but it seems like lightly based on that family, except that Murdoch, I think, something Murdoch, I think is a dude's name, except his sons are involved in the company, even though this guy's sons are involved in the company. Um, but they seem to have, more respect for their dad in the real version. But of course, their dad hasn't had a stroke and all this kind of stuff like what's happened in the show. So it was so good. I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta go live, because I get those. It's like these intellectual or these, mind kind of orgasms. Like, oh my God, this is so good. This is unbelievable. I gotta share it with somebody. And I know y'all are probably like, Cat. We watched this show 6 years ago. Okay, we on season whatever the current season is, if the show is even still on, and you just now discovering it. It's kind of like when you decide to stop dating BXYs, and you just want to tell everybody because you're like, oh my gosh, this is so much easier. I didn't know. And the people that have already stopped dating them is like, girl, bye. This, yes, welcome to the club, baby girl. Anyway, let me share the link real quick. I said I wasn't going to be on here long. I thought maybe, or I didn't tell y'all that, but I thought to myself, I'm not going to be on here long, maybe 5 minutes. I just had to come in here and share with you guys that if you don't already watch this show and you're looking for something good to watch, then honey, this is it. I was I was telling a friend about this show. Hold on. I was telling a friend about this show, and hold on, Morrison, you better get your butt down. Yeah, Morrison had a haircut, and now he looks like an anorexic mop head. He still has like a fluffy head and a fluffy tail, but the rest of him is skinny because his hair like got matted and all kind of stuff. And he's just so funny looking. I should have put a new picture of him up there. But anyway, I was telling a friend about this show, and comparing it to her, the guy in her life, and she's like, Kat, he's not that rich. He's not a billionaire. It's just funny to me when people with money, like, just, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like lose perspective of wealth. You know what I mean? Just like, yeah, girl, he rich enough though. He rich in a way I can't relate to, child. But anyway, did I share okay, yeah, I did share the link. And then this dog is always kissing on me. I don't want no kisses. And he got stinky breath. I need to find your toothpaste so I can brush your teeth. I got 2 batches of toothpaste around here for dogs, and I can't find none of them because my kitchen is just Anyway, I just wanted to share the show with y'all. It's on how did I start watching? Through Amazon Prime, but I had to subscribe to, I guess, something called HBO Max to watch it. And I had gone back and forth about this. Like, I really want to start watching it because something I watched. Oh, this is what I think I was trying to say. I have an obsession with rich people and kind of how they got there and what it's like to be in those circles. And this just seems so accurate, the way people act, when they're in proximity to power. Not that they necessarily have any power themselves, but just being in proximity to it, and the things people will do to hold on to it. They will literally double cross their parents, who without them, they wouldn't have anything. It's like, these kids are rich, but they're rich because of their dad. But the entitlement that they have, I remember Warren Buffett talking about that. Like, he started giving away a lot of his money, and he's, said before something like, when he dies, even though he's a billionaire, his kids are only going to get like 10 million each. And he said something like, if they can't make something happen with that, then That's on them. And that's the very opposite of what most rich people are like, because they want to give their kids everything. And then you end up having these douchebags for kids that betray you in the end. Like, oh, I love my dad, but he's unfit to run the company because the guy's had a stroke. And so you know, I don't know. Yeah, I know this is going to sound abusive, but like there was a scene in the movie where they were playing this game on a holiday. I think it was Thanksgiving. And the dad has had a stroke. So, yes, he has some, continuity issues or whatever, but he's still firing on like 99 of his 100 cylinders. So now I know me growing up black and the way black families are, the way they used to be when I was growing up, you had to respect your elders. And it's still the same way for me. Like I'm 45 years old, but baby, when I tell you respect your elders, like it's been ingrained in me. I will walk away from a situation before I ever argue with an elder about it, even if I think they wrong or whatever. I'm just gonna walk away because I don't argue with elders. You know what I mean? Because it's just the way you was raised in the South. Well, black and in the South, I'll put it that way, because I that's what I was grew up as. So I don't know what other people do. But this little boy was like, "Oh, Grandpa, you lost." So he was trying to take this can out of his grandpa's hand because he felt like his grandpa's chance was over because he lost. Then the little boy seemed like he might have, autism or something, or you know, he has something where like he needs transitions before he can be around a lot of people. And the granddaddy was like, in that generation, they don't recognize none of that. The granddaddy was like, basically get your butt in that room. And the little boy got up and did what his granddaddy told him. Because it was, when I was growing up, when adults told you to do stuff, you just did it. It wasn't no discussion. It wasn't no, oh, how do you feel about being obedient and da da da. You just had to do it. So he felt like his granddaddy lost, and he was trying to take a can out of his granddaddy hands, and they sitting there going back and forth, like kind of playing tug of war with it. Where the granddad, in our generation, I couldn't imagine doing or saying something like that to my granddaddy as a kid. Even now, my granddaddy is long gone. I couldn't imagine trying to. He holding on to something. I'm trying to take it out of his hand, telling him he lost. First of all, our grandparents back then didn't play games like that. I know I grew up black, but we didn't sit around on Christmas playing games like that. I know some of y'all probably grew up in 2-parent families and y'all had a different existence, but I'm saying what I grew up with. So they going back and forth trying to, pull the can, and in doing that, he accidentally hits the boy in the face with the can, and everybody, this is the new millennium, so everybody's like, looking at him like he's a monster, and I'm thinking he better be glad that's all he got, because babe, I would have got a whooping trying to like, play tug of war with an adult, like girl. I'm sorry, y'all. I know that sounds so problematic by today's standards, but back then kids got whooped, and you sure wasn't about to be disrespectful to grand anything with grand on it. Matter of fact, you wasn't about to be disrespectful to a grown neighbor. It didn't have to be family. It's just a different world now, honey. All this coddling and stuff kids get now. Am I saying you should go around hitting kids? Absolutely not. But I feel like kids just don't have the same respect that they used to have. And I think that's obvious in classrooms and stuff. It's not just black kids in the inner city acting up, disrespecting their teachers. Yeah, they might be the ones that get the most violent outside of school shootings, of course. But there's something called I forget, it's a mime or something that the white kids do when they don't want to listen to their teachers. It's something with their face and their chin they do, whereas in black schools, they might pick up a chair and hit their teacher or mace their teacher or something like that. But it's just in my day, babe. If not if the teacher has definitely had to call my mom before when I was a little girl, and I think I've told y'all this story. Baby, I remember this elementary school. Yeah, I remember telling y'all this story because, to make a long story short, back then we didn't have a phone. I told y'all I grew up in a single parent family. Didn't know my dad. The guy that dated my mom, for the first 10 years of my life, we didn't have a phone for most of my early childhood. I would say, shoot, probably up until, I'm trying to think, when do I really remember being on the phone? It was high school. So let's say age 15 plus is when I got used to having a phone in the house. Growing up, we did not have a phone. And shoot, I can't remember what I was gonna say. I got so mixed up in trying to figure out when we had a phone or not. But We just can be disrespectful like that. Oh, Lord have mercy. What is the world coming to with these children? I see why teachers are leaving the classroom. Anyway, I'm gonna get off of here. I'm gonna get back to watching the show, but I just had to come in and tell y'all, if you're looking for something good to watch, especially if you're kind of obsessed with the rich and how they live and everything, and it's like, I think I've told y'all, I have an ex-boyfriend who is I want to say he's wealthy, but he my friend Jay from the UK, she's like, I don't ever want you to mention him again. But it's just interesting to me the way people act around the wealthy, and I see it all the time. It's just, I'm not related to anyone that wealthy. I'm not in those circles as a person of importance. I'm the help, if anything. You know what I mean? So, I think I've told you guys before that my dad worked for a multimillionaire. We were talking about that when we had lunch the other day. Um, and he was talking about how the lady, would give the help gifts, and my dad was definitely the help. And so one of the granddaughters said something like, grandmother, whatever they call her, grandmama, you should not be buying them things, that is just inappropriate, blah, blah, blah. And so the old rich lady said, let's say she's a widow. So let's say her husband's name was Dan. She's like, Dan left this money to me. So basically it's my money. I can do what I want to with it. And you don't be saying that when you want to go travel to Europe and I'm funding those trips. Not to mention each of these kids had at least $1 million trust fund set up by their grandmother. You know what I mean? Oh, and she'd be like, but that's different. We're family. And just the way, I don't know. It's just like you listen to people like Bill Gates, Warren Buffett. These are rich people who seem to have some sense about not overindulging their kids, even though by our standards, the kids have a great life. To them, they look at their other friends whose parents aren't going to give away all their money and pass it on. And it just seems like it makes these rotten people who have never had to work for anything and think, everyone owes them everything. The way these guys talk to people, I'm just like, one guy was on the phone with someone, his company owed billions of dollars, billions with a B as in beta, the second letter of the alphabet. And he cussed the guy out on the phone. And it's like my booty clenched when he did that. I'm just like, this boy has no sense of respect or propriety whatsoever. Like, who does that? I'm not talking disrespectful to anybody I owe $3 to, let alone $3 million, $1 billion to. Oh Lord. Anyway, y'all leave it in the comments, y'all. I got to get back to this show, but I just had to come on here and share it with y'all that, honey, this show is everything for me. Let me know if you've seen it. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.